15 Things You Didn't Know About Friends. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Hello Aluxers, how you doing? Despite being one of the most watched TV series in the world, Friends critics labeled the pilot episode a weaker version of Seinfeld. Nobody could have guessed that 26 years later we would still be watching the reruns of the series that featured Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, Joey, Chandler, and Ross, and of course, the famous Central Park couch that has since toured the world. Today, we delve into the lives of these 6 friends, their earnings, and how they made history by negotiating the deal of a lifetime. Number 1. The inspiration behind the hit series. It wasn't the first time that the writers David Crane and Marta Kauffman had worked together on a series. They had co-written the cable television series Dream On and Family Album, which was canceled after just 6 episodes. Inspiration for the show is credited to Kauffman, who was driving around New York City and spotted a coffee shop called Insomnia Cafe. She thought it would make a great place for a story to be centered around, but was reluctant to have it resemble Cheers, which featured a main character and several smaller ones. She wanted each character to have an equal role, and initially had 4 main characters. Ross, Monica, Joey, and Rachel. Chandler and Phoebe were meant to add humor to the 4 main parts and were initially written as secondary characters. As Kauffman was 38 years old when writing Friends, she had to ask her children's babysitters, who were in their 20s, for advice on how life was, as it was very different in New York City when she grew up in her 20s. Number 2. There was more thought put into the series' name than you might think. Friends is not exactly the most original name, but the show had several name changes before Friends became the final decision. The original name was Insomnia Cafe, which is what appears on the original pitch, written in just 3 days. When NBC bought the rights to the series, they changed the name to Friends Like Us, but that didn't stick either. The other option was Across the Hall, suggested by NBC president Warren Littlefield. When shooting began, the series was called 6 of 1, and by the time the show premiered, it was simply called Friends. Number 3. The starting salary of the cast of Friends was $22,500 each per episode. They all received the same amount for the first season. When the second season came around, the pay between the 6 actors fluctuated between $22,000 and $40,000 each per episode. Before season 3 began, the cast got together and decided to do something that had never been done before. They began collective bargaining, and their efforts paid off. Each cast member from there onwards would receive the same amount per episode. By this stage, the cast was getting $75,000 an episode. Season 4 was a jump to $85,000 an episode, and Season 5 was a big hike to $100,000 for each episode. Thereafter, Season 6 saw each actor receive $125,000 an episode. Season 7 and 8 were at $750,000, and then finally each receiving $1 million for episodes in Seasons 9 and 10. Co-creator Kauffman couldn't believe the amount the cast was getting paid, labeling it inflated, saying $1 million an episode is kind of ridiculous. Number 4. Friends usually meet friends through other friends. And Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, Joey, Chandler, and Ross are no different. Monica was the friend that connected them together. She met Chandler years prior to Thanksgiving dinner, and he liked her mac and cheese. That was her inspiration to become a chef. Ross was Monica's older brother, who always crushed on Monica's friend, Rachel, but was really a bully to her in school, disguising his true feelings. Monica and Rachel had been friends since they were 6 years old, and Chandler and Ross were roommates in college. At 14, Phoebe was homeless and mugged Ross, who claimed he was robbed by a big burly man, and Joey answered an ad when Chandler was looking for a housemate. What's so inspiring about the cast is they were friends on-screen and off-screen, which is highly unusual in this industry. Things could definitely have been different when you hear who could have been cast as Phoebe. Stay tuned for that. Number 5. This was the big break that Matt LeBlanc needed. When he came to audition, he was broke with only $11 in his pocket. It's funny he plays a struggling Italian-American actor in the series, always having issues with cash flow and having to borrow money from Chandler a few times. When he appeared as a guest on Conan's late-night talk show on TBS in 2012, he said, "I told my mother I think I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna move to New York and be an actor." And she said, "What? No, Matthew, what do you know about acting?" Conan then asked, "And what does she say now?" To which LeBlanc replied, "Thanks for the Mercedes." Number 6. We all have our favorite Friends character, but what do the polls say? YouGov did a survey and asked the public to vote on their favorite character, and these were the results. Monica was the least favorite character and only managed to get 5% of votes. Her brother Ross didn't do much better as he received 6% of the votes. Phoebe was the most liked female character with 15. Rachel received 13% and Joey got 17% of the votes. Chandler managed an incredible 20% of the votes, making him the most popular character on Friends. His one-liners are on point, his sarcasm executed perfectly, and overall, he's a lovable guy. His character resonated well with viewers because he was so relatable. Number 7. Friends impacted both TV and the world. Kelsey Miller wrote a deeply insightful book called I'll Be There For You about how the series pushed the envelope and was far ahead of its time. She pointed out that after 9/11, there was a lot of negativity surrounding America. Viewers were captivated by the series because it represented some form of stability, while everything seemed to be falling apart. Although the writers didn't outright mention the tragedy, they did add things like New York Fire Department shirts and featured American flags in the background, all reminding people of how strong the city and America is unified. A groundbreaking episode took place on the series in 1996 when Ross's ex-wife Carol married Susan. The wedding scene took 60 seconds, but was a huge moment for the LGBTQ community. And then there was Chandler's dad who realized he was a trans woman, which was unusual on the air in the 90s. Number 8. The first episode of Friends had 22 million people tune in. Of the 236 episodes that aired, the ones that garnered the most views were the one where Rachel has a baby, which was viewed by 35 million people. Many believe the finale of the series, The Last One, had the highest viewership numbers at 52.46 million, but the episode The One After the Super Bowl beat it, when 52.9 million people saw Chandler and Julia Roberts hook up. Brooke Shields took an unhealthy interest in Joey and stalked him, and Monica and Rachel embarrassed themselves fighting over Jean-Claude Van Damme. However, the series that had the highest number of viewers for its final episode was actually MASH, which had 105 million people locked to their screens. Number 9. Netflix bought the streaming rights for Friends back in 2015. And they paid $100 million to secure those rights. Netflix never disclosed how many people would stream the reruns of Friends, but New York Magazine felt it may still be one of the most popular series on TV. However, as of midnight on December 31st, 2019, Friends was no longer available on any streaming network. Netflix lost the rights to broadcast the show when HBO Max bought it for $500 million. A fun fact, CNBC states that 32 million minutes of Friends have been streamed on Netflix. Number 10. The cast of Friends all earned the same amount per episode, which was a first for TV. But since then, each actor has gone on to pursue their individual careers, and here's what they're worth. Joey Tribbiani, or Matt LeBlanc, has a net worth of $80 million. Chandler Bing, played by Matthew Perry, is also valued at around $80 million. Ross Geller, portrayed by David Schwimmer, has a net worth of $85 million. Phoebe Buffay, played by Lisa Kudrow, is worth $90 million. Monica Geller, played by Courtney Cox, is worth around $120 million, and Jennifer Aniston is the wealthiest of her co-stars, with a net worth peaking at $240 million. Number 11. The cast all earn a passive income from reruns. When Friends was doing really well, the team got together again to ensure they were included in back-end profits of the show. In 2000, the cast negotiated a deal that would see them make millions without having to physically do a thing. An amount of 2% of the back-end profits would go to each cast member, which works out to roughly $20 million a year. Number 12. We know who the top earner is in reality, but who earned the most in their roles? It's been a mystery as to how well the cast were able to live in such lovely apartments in New York City, because it's common knowledge the rental is exorbitant. By season 10, Joey was earning the most when he received $130,000 for getting a lead role in a film and was later hired back for Days of Our Lives. He was earning $80,000 a year by season 10. Chandler had a job in data analysis and configuration, which earned him $100,000 a year, and then he earned $45,000 a year when he became a junior copywriter. Monica was fortunate enough to have a big inheritance, and then earned around $80,000 a year as a head chef. As a professor, Ross earned $50,000 a year, and as a paleontologist, he made $75,000 a year. Rachel's income fluctuated but was roughly $55,000 a year, and Phoebe's was the lowest at about $20,000. Number 13. Friends would have turned out very differently if these actors were cast as our well-loved friends. Ellen DeGeneres was offered the role as Phoebe, Jane Krakowski could have been Rachel, Leah Remini as Monica, Kathy Griffin also could have been Phoebe, Jon Favreau as Chandler, Hank Azaria as Joey, and Eric McCormick as Ross. Ironically, Jennifer Aniston is one of Ellen's best friends, but she's also friends with Matthew Perry and Courtney Cox. But then again, is there anyone that Ellen isn't friends with? Number 14. There have been some unusual theories about the show. Some fans suggest that the whole series was part of a dream that Rachel had before her wedding day. Another highlighted the fact they always got the best table at the coffee shop, and the barista Gunther always kept it available because he liked Rachel. There's even a darker suggestion that claims Phoebe hallucinated the whole thing while living on the streets, or the coffee shop is not a real coffee shop, but rather the cafeteria of a psych ward. Number 15. Each cast member will receive $2.5 million for a one-off get-together. We mentioned HBO Max bought the rights to the series, but they've also confirmed the cast of Friends will come together for an hour-long impromptu episode, which will be shot on the iconic Stage 24. And of course, to be able to view this once-in-a-lifetime episode, you need to subscribe to HBO Max. Well, Aluxers, that's a wrap for today. Do you have your own unusual theory about the show Friends? If so, let us know in the comments. And of course, for sticking with us until the end, you know we owe you a bonus. Here it is. Friends was always filmed in front of a live audience of around 300 people. An episode could take up to 5 hours, with many scenes requiring multiple takes, and of course, costume and scene changes. The cast loved it because they knew if the audience laughed, they were on the right track. Cliffhangers, however, were not done in front of a live audience because, of course, you wouldn't want to spoil a big reveal. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.